Testing. Testing 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. TEST. It was right over time. Everybody be good. If you have a bad day, you just go to that. That's a ghost. Look at this. Look at when you comes up with the annotator.
Hello.
Testing 1, 2, 3, 4. Test 1, 2, 3. Test.
Hello.
Okay.
Yes. Got you. Test.
Gotta get a hold of it. I'm sorry. We're going to start our meeting and call it to order. Trustee Alexander.
Present.
No, wait now. Recognize Trustee Alexander for invocation.
Yes. Thank you, Chairman Holloway. Let's all bow our heads and entrust this meeting to the Lord. Heavenly Father, we come before you this day, on this glorious day, to do your work, to do the work of caring for the children. You always said that the children come to me. These students, the faculty, the staff, every stakeholder in this institution, Lord. We pray your blessings over everyone who's affiliated with this wonderful institution with such a rich history and a history of truth and service. Let us live up to every single value that are the people who came before us brought to us, the tenets of truth and service, and everything that has made this institution have your blessing, everything that continues to be in your work and in your plan to expand the legacy of people who trusted in you, of people who knew that there were no barriers or challenges that could overcome a mission so aligned with your heart, so aligned with your kingdom, so aligned with everything that you want to see for generations to come. In Jesus' name we pray, amen.
Will you do the roll call, please, Trustee Valladares?
Yes, thank you, Chairman Holloway.
Present.
Present. Trustee David Alexander.
Present.
Trustee Roderick Allison.
Present.
Trustee William Bell. Trustee Keith Chadwell.
Present.
Trustee Emily Dickens. Trustee Cameron Emery. Okay, Trustee Lisa Martinez. Trustee James Mitchell.
Present.
Trustee Cornell Slade.
Present.
Trustee Antoine Thornton. And Trustee Alexander Valladares is here. Trustee James Walker. Chairman Holloway, we have a quorum.
Thank you. As Chair of the Board of Trustees, it is my responsibility to remind all members of the board of their duty under the State Government Ethics Act to avoid conflicts of interest and appearances of conflict of interest as required by this act. Each member has received the agenda and related information for this Board of Trustees meeting. If any board member knows of any conflict of interest or appearance of conflict with respect to any matter coming before the Board of Trustees at this meeting, the conflict or appearance of the conflict should be identified at this time. Hearing none, I'd like to seek a motion that the NCCU Board of Trustees adopt the agenda. So moved. Second. It has been moved and properly second. All in favor? Aye. Opposes? Hearing none, so moved. I'd like to seek a motion that the NCCU Board of Trustees approve items on the consent agenda. It would be minutes dated September 26, 2023, on-campus residency requirement policy revision 40.08.1, and alcoholic beverage policy revision 40.13.2. I move it, Mr. Chairman. Second, Trustee Emily Dickens. It has been approved and properly second. All in favor? Aye. Opposes? Hearing none, so moved. I'd like to recognize Chancellor Johnson Akinleye for appointment of BOT administrative support.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Good morning to board members. This is merely really just FYI for you. It does not actually require board action. Ms. Fuller retired sometime, who is the administrative secretary to the board, retired sometimes close to the end of last year. And Dr. Edmonds and Ms. Vanderberg have stepped in since then to manage the administrative duties of the board. We didn't replace Ms. Fuller right away because we were moving from paper to electronic communications, and we wanted all that to conclude. As you can imagine now, everything is now electronic. We have a board website. Information have been housed on the website. We have reduced the paper load and copying of documents. We still make a few copies for you here and there. And so now that we are completely transitioned to that, we are appointing Ms. Tracy Vanderberg to serve as the administrative secretary to the board. And that she officially now, and this has been added to her regular duty, and she's been compensated for it. Just make it clear. We don't want to overburden her, but she's done a tremendously very important job. I want to thank her and Dr. Edmonds and all of those who have worked with the board to help us to make this transition to where we are now today. I want to thank them. And I want you to know now from now on, you will receive information about the board directly from her. If you have any questions and anything that you want to know, you can refer to her. She's very capable. She's nimble, she's agile, and she's able to do the job. So we just want you to officially know that she's now handling that that job that Ms. Fuller was doing. The official secretary to the board is Trustee Valdez. That was appointed by the board. She manages, the courtroom and all of that. And Dr. Edmonds serves as assistant secretary to her. If she's not able to be here, she will step into that role. But the administrative secretary, it will be Ms. Tracey Vanderbilt. And that's the point that we want to make. Thank you.
Thank you, Chancellor. And on behalf of the board, we welcome you, Ms. Vandenberg, and we look forward to working with you in the future. You've done a great job so far, and we're very pleased to see you have this opportunity. So thanks. We'll now start our committee reports, and first will be Trustee Valladares, a report of committee on academics and student affairs.
Good morning, trustees. As chair of the Committee on Academic and Student Affairs, I'm pleased to provide updates on key several initiatives from the Division of Academic Affairs. Firstly, our efforts towards achieving the Research to Carnegie Classification designation involves establishing new doctoral programs. And secondly, some of our efforts to implement strategies that will enhance our first-time bar passage rates. We have one action item that will be discussed during closed session. It's to vote on tenure and promotion recommendations. Additionally, our Career Center has implemented several themed initiatives to enhance student career readiness. And our Dean of Students office has continued to foster a supportive campus environment for our students. We have two action items that we will discuss today during open session. Action item 1 is revisions to policy 40.08.1 on campus residency requirement policy. Proposed revisions to the policy include section 2 scope. We remove wording stating the policy refers to all undergraduate students classified as freshmen or sophomores. Section 3 definitions, remove definitions for freshmen and sophomores. Updated the definition for new first-time freshmen. Section 4.1 on campus residency requirement. We added language requiring all undergraduate students that enter the university as a new first-time freshman to have a 2-year, 4-semester fall and spring semesters requirement to live in a university-operated residence hall. Action item number 2, revisions to policy 40.13.2, policy on alcoholic beverages. We propose revisions to the policy that include section 6.1.4, modified the number of days from 7 days to 21 days. Additionally, added language requiring the VC for Student Affairs or the VC for Student Affairs designee to ensure a copy of the alcohol beverage permit and statement of responsibility be shared with the university police. Also, section 6.1.8 added language requiring the sponsor and or advisor to put safeguards in place for compliance with federal, state, and city ordinances and laws and all university policies during events at which alcohol is served. We also added the following sections 6.14 and section 6.15 and section 11. We modified the initial paragraph before section 11.1. This concludes my report on academic and student affairs. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, I'd like to recognize Chairman Thornton for the report of Committee on Advancement.
Good morning. Trustees, as the chair of the Committee on Advancement and External Affairs, I'm delighted to highlight NCCU's thriving culture of philanthropy. Our year-to-date fiscal fundraising efforts underscore the generosity and commitment of our donors. So far, the advancement team has raised over $12.1 million. This spring, the advancement team will be publishing the 2022-2023 philanthropy report and releasing the new endowment reporting and donor portal that allows our donors to track their contributions and update donor information. Additionally, Our alumni relations team has continued to increase our alumni engagement efforts, curating an engaging oral history project, encouraging presence at the MEAC basketball tournament through NCCU's Day of Giving on April 12th, Donor Impact Luncheon on April 18th for endowment and scholarship donors, and at the Orange Blossom Classic in Miami Gardens, Florida for Labor Day weekend. This concludes my report on advancement in external affairs.
Thank you, Chairman. Next, I'd like to recognize Chairman Slade for the report of Committee on Athletics.
Good morning. Trustees, as Chair of the Committee of Athletics, I am pleased to provide you with our athletic update. The football turf replacement project will be completed in 2 weeks. Additionally, we remain committed to providing athletic aid for our student athletes. As we continue to navigate the changes brought on by the NCAA transfer portal and NCAA's legislation, such as name, image, and likeness, they're known as NIL, we're focused on ensuring that our athletes have the resources they need to succeed. Furthermore, we launched the Maroon and Gray annual giving campaign in September, which has so far raised over $200,000. Chairman, this concludes my report.
Thank you, Chairman Slade. I'd like to recognize Chairman Chadwell for the report of the Audit Committee.
Mr. Chairman and trustees, as chair of the Committee on Audit, I'm pleased to report on the audits completed thus far in fiscal year 24. During this period, the internal audit team completed 2 audits. 2 findings were revealed in an audit on cash management. 6 findings were revealed in an audit on student affairs transportation. In both instances, the responsible business units affirmed the audits and completed responsive plans for corrective measures. This concludes my report on audit.
Thank you. Next, we'll have the report for endowment. Trustees, as chair of the Committee on Endowment, I am pleased to provide the following informational update. As of December 31st, 2023, the total NCCU endowment is $83 million. This reflects an average growth of 5% from beginning of the fiscal year. The university investment managers will provide the annual update at our next meeting, which is in April. This concludes my report on endowment. I'd like to recognize Chairman Martinez for the report of Committee on Finance and Facilities.
Good morning, trustees. As chair of the Committee on Finance and Facilities, I'm pleased to provide administrative finance and facilities updates. Legislative update. All state employees were granted a 7% increase, 4% for fiscal year 23-24, and 3% for fiscal year 24-25. Other additions include the completion assistance program, new state appropriated athletic funding, and nursing faculty salary adjustments. Information was also shared on the enrollment funding based on the year-over-year change. The state funds budget was reduced by a net $1.8 million. This reflects an enrollment reduction and an increase relative to performance metrics. Second quarter budget updates for state and auxiliary funds. We've successfully completed the second quarter budget review for both state and auxiliary funds, ensuring transparency and accountability of our financial operations. 5-year budget plan for general funds. Our comprehensive review of the 5-year budget plan for general funds has been conducted, highlighting key projections and strategies to maintain fiscal stability. An update on major facility projects was also reviewed. Progress reports on major facility projects have been provided, detailing milestones achieved as well as timelines and budgets. The new market tax credit update was also provided. It includes a status on our new market tax credit project, including progress made towards implementation of any potential challenges and opportunities identified. This concludes my report on finance and facilities. Thank you.
Thank you, Chairman Martinez.
I like.
Okay. Okay, there's a motion on the floor
Second.
that we accept all the committee reports. It's been second. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposes? I'd like to take this opportunity to thank the entire board, and most importantly, the university staff, chancellor, for our meeting and committees yesterday, and especially the venue. Everything was exceptional, and I've heard very positive comments about it for the most part. So under the guise of continuous improvement, board members, is our meeting. So let's make sure we continue to talk about any improvements that you might think we need to do for the future so that our meetings can be as fulfilling as possible. So thank you very much. Thank you, Chancellor. Next, we'd like to have the Chancellor's report.
Mr. Chairman, members of the board, good morning. It is my pleasure to come before you this morning to provide a brief report on the state of affairs at NCCU. And certainly I wouldn't be long because we have a sort of a long day ahead of us today. But I think it's important for me to make a quick comment on the organization of the board, as noted by the board chair this morning. I wanted to say just pointedly that change is never easy, particularly when it's for the good. Sometimes uncomfortable to change. And if we refuse to do things to innovate and to move the institution in a progressive, more dynamic direction because we are so afraid that people would not change, we run the risk of remaining static and ineffectual and irrelevant. I know that we've had some transitional matters when it comes to really moving the board meetings and organization and operations to a point that we are now. Our board is not a church deacon board. That is not to slide the church or anything. A board is a corporate board. We have bylaws, and we are also a state entity. And in our doings, we want to be sure that we are following state policies and our meetings are being organized accordingly. And in this age of electronic technology, it is incumbent upon us, if we are teaching and emphasizing technology in our classroom, teaching our students, it's incumbent upon the board to model that. And that is the reason why we struggle quite a bit to get you all into a position where everything is done digitally. And I am so glad, and I really have to commend my staff. They've worked very hard. It's not easy to transition. Yesterday was perfect. We had a robust and engaging conversation with the board, and I'm sure that the board learned quite a bit about the institution. So I want to thank you for your patience in allowing us to get to that point and to the point where we are this morning. So I just want to make sure that that is reflected in our minutes. Late last year, many of you were aware that NCCU was attacked. We had a cybersecurity malware that was inflicted upon our institution. This was a massive, massive destruction. You are not new to cybersecurity intrusions, and we are not the first institution, public institution or private, or even within the system that has suffered this tremendous disruption. It is important for me because we haven't had the opportunity to really bring the board up to speed in terms of how we handle that and what we did and where we are up to this moment. And I want to just take a few minutes today to walk you through what we've done so that you have some sense of where our operation is. And on the slide, you'll see the topics that I would cover during my presentation. The first one would be the cyber intrusion recovery process. And then I want to talk briefly about an initiative that has been championed at the system level that is called the new curriculum, the American Democracy. I'll say a few words on that in a few minutes. Then, of course, I will provide other campus updates. As we go into the presentation, I would be remiss if I did not publicly acknowledge our ITS department under the supervision of Mr. Joe Faison. I'm not sure if Mr. Faison is here this morning, but if he's here, I would like for him to stand. Yes. I want him to stand and remain standing. Thank you so much. Mr. Faison is an alum of NCCU. Has worked at other institutions, CIO, Peace College, and SHAR, and in the corporate world. He left us for a brief period, and we brought him back as CIO. And I'm so delighted that we were able to bring him back here because if it were not for his experience, his connection, his intensity and passion, I think what happened to us could have devastated this institution. Mr. Faison, has a very calm temperament. When that occurred in November, he moved expeditiously, and I will go quickly through what he did and where we are now. But I want to acknowledge him and his entire team, and if you don't mind, I would like to give them a round of applause for what they did. So here are the initial timeline of what happened to us. On November 12th, there were reports of widespread malware on campus workstations and servers. Many critical IT services were inaccessible, operating in a diminished capacity. Contacted cybersecurity incident report team and activated our cybersecurity incident response plan. On November 13th, the Joint Communication Task Force arrived on our campus, and we were asked to shut down, disconnect NCCU network access to the internet. We went dark, and you know exactly what that meant. We could not do anything at all. In the middle of semester classes and preparation, online classes were suspended. On November 14th, the IT initiated a password reset for everyone on campus. We all had to log in and create a new password. On November 15th, reconnection of campus network to the outside world began. November 16, the launch of Eagle Guest Wireless Network to allow on-campus access to the internet began. On November 18, that quickly, online classes resumed. And then, of course, we move into recovery and restoration phase. Phase one, restoration of access hosted systems and services. Phase two, they went into restoration of access to on-campus system and services. Phase three, modification to security controls, deployment to new technologies, imaging all campus-owned workstations. They had to go through each building on campus, each workstation on campus, the labs with computers, and re-image everything. I mean, massive, massive, massive undertaking. I don't know how they did it. They were spending nights sleeping on campus, not going home, but they did all of that through the holidays. While many of us were enjoying Christmas and all of that, they were here. And of course, phase five, they went into the forensic analysis because we wanted to know how this occurred, where it came from, how it entered our campus, and in order for us to be able to prevent this from happening in the future. I'm not going to give you all the details because this is quite massive, but I'm happy to say to you that through it all, no major losses of information to our campus. As you well know, most of our data were also housed by a third party. We did not lose anything, none at all. It is really, really important for me to say to you now, we are 95% back to normal. Classes are going on. Everyone is doing well. You couldn't have imagined that we went through this major issue. And we are continuing to monitor our system. I believe we're more resilient now. You have a campus of over 5,000 staff and faculty. People now understand when they say to you, don't open emails and things that you don't know, that some of us do all the time. I think our campus community is more aware of this sort of things. I would like to acknowledge the NC Joint Cybersecurity Task Force, that is the National Guard, U.S. Secret Service, the FBI. These were people that converged on our campus and create a workstation in the School of Education. I went there to see them. It was a war room on the wall where we were attacking these people who attacked us from somewhere in Europe, Eastern Europe. And I also want to say that we did not pay any ransom, not a dime, to this group. So want to make sure that we acknowledge the USA System Office. They came to our aid. Programs that we could not run here, we were running them through them. Payroll was very, very significant. We didn't miss any payroll at all because of the assistance that the system office provided to us. The North Carolina Department of Information Technology came to our aid. Even Duke University sent some of their IT staff here to work with us during that period. The town of Fuquay-Varina also sent IT people, AT&T, Verizon, T-Mobile, just to name a few. And of course, all of our third-party partners, DegreeWorks, and Banner, and all of these things had to be. So we are a brand new organization as a result of that. So I hope that this is helpful for you to know exactly what we've been through and how traumatic it was for all of us. We were meeting, they were meeting almost every day, and we were, as a leadership team, we were meeting every week to get updates, to know where we are and what are the next steps. there were few of our information that came up on the dark web. As you always, many of you have credit cards and you've been notified that, your social security, things like that. We had a few incidents of that on that. Mine was also there, and few others. But we have reassured all those who have been affected by, in that sense, that the university is prepared to provide assistance for them, credit monitoring and those other things that many corporations do engage in. I want to pause and see if you have any questions for me or for Mr. Faison at this moment, in addition to what we provided. You might have anything that I may not have mentioned that you want to know. Yes.
That external people, your credit card that may be in the system from making donations may have been impacted. Can you give more detail about that?
Sure. Thank you for that question. So what we've been noticing is that a lot of the data that we store on site, none of the systems were impacted. So the Blackbaud system, the Illusion system where the data stores live was not impacted at all. But we tend to run reports in that and store it on our local systems. Those were some of the Excel reports and spreadsheets that were impacted. So we've hired an external forensic company to go through, do data mining and scrubbing to make sure that any information that was exposed, any data elements that were exposed, those persons are being notified.
Any other questions, Mr. Chairman?
Yes. Is there any way that there is a fail-safe system internally that needs to be built to stop this again? Or is it just you're trying to outrun the race in this, if you understand the question correctly?
Yes, sir. Thank you. So there's really two levers that you have access to when it comes to cybersecurity. You have the human element, and then you have the technology controls. We know that the source of this came from a phishing email. As part of our normal processes, we do phish our users. We do training monthly, and we had a really good success rate. So prior to this incident, we were only showing that 3% of our users would, kind of fall for it and click, whereas with industry, that was up to 14 to 18%. But what we've learned is that it only takes one. So while I can say that there's no guarantees that this won't happen again, what we have been able to do is put in some more technical controls so that in the event it does happen, we're able to cut it off before it gets through the entire campus.
Any other questions for Mr. Faison? All right. Thank you so much, Mr. Faison. Appreciate it. Thank you. The next slide, please. Want to talk briefly about the initiative about this new curriculum that it's been encouraged by the UNC system, that all of our institutions should embrace. Just to give you the synopsis, here it says our surveys consistently find that Americans of all ages lack basic knowledge about the functions and foundations of the American government. To help address these concerns, faculty leaders and the UNC system office staff have developed a proposal to ensure undergraduate students acquired a shared foundation in American democracy in a manner that emphasizes academic rigor and freedom of inquiry, and that is implementable across all the UNC system universities. That is the synopsis. And the work has already been done. The UNC system made consultation with the faculty assembly. Faculty assembly, that is the assembly that represent all of our faculty in the 17 institutions. And they've worked very hard to come up with what is considered 2 learning outcomes. One, student learning outcomes, SLOs, And of course, that one will focus on documents and concepts related to America's founding as an independent nation, including the Declaration of Independence, the Constitution, and the Federalist Papers. We're not saying that these things are not being taught before, but the system would like to have these things more than in just one particular course. In some ways, there are ways that we can embed this into a number of courses across the campus to be sure that, and I think to give you the proper background, I think the impetus for this is because of what we are experiencing today. People are concerned about the preservation of our democracy. And they believe that as a learning and teaching institution, that we should begin to really get our students to understand the basic foundation of this nation. And perhaps with that, there will be more understanding and we can prevent losing this democracy that we so cherish. And the outcome too, you can use any one of these. We could use any, would focus on the effort to implement the nation's ideals and require students to engage with Emancipation Proclamation, the Gettysburg Address, and the Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King's letter from the Birmingham jail. This is to be broad for us all, for our students to understand the ideals that are important to us in America. Now, what I like about this is that the system didn't really prescribe how we should teach this to. They've left this up to each institution to work with our faculty senate chair, for us to come up with how we want to reflect this in some of our courses. And our faculty members, our chair of our faculty senate is working with our faculty members to take that step. So this is going to be approved, I believe, during the board meeting that is currently going on today. And in case you hear about it, I just want you to know that it is something that we all embrace. It does not impose a particular, outcome, and it allows each institution to find ways to incorporate these ideals into various curriculum courses across our campus. Again, the next steps here, policy changes implemented, the requirement will be brought to the committee for consideration this month as the meeting is going on. If the committee adopts, the full board will consider these on the consent agenda in April. And then, of course, the campuses would identify a first set of courses that would meet the requirement by summer of 2024, which is around the corner. And of course, implementation of these American democracy outcomes will begin in the fall of 2025. Any questions? Yes.
Say that they didn't describe what we had to do. Is there any concern they'll come back and check to see what we've done?
That's a very good question. I don't think they would do that because that would be a massive undertaking to go through 17 campuses and review all of the curriculum. I think they would take our word. That is my guess. Because if these are going to be embedded in courses, you can imagine how many courses they would have to review in the 17 campuses. Faculty has given their blessing to this, and we know how to do learning outcomes. And I think the system have faith that what the faculty assembly developed, that they would implement it.
Will it become one of our metrics?
No. Thank you. Any other questions? All right, thank you. And the last portion of my report focuses on the our effort in enrollment. We spoke at length about this yesterday, and I just want to let you know that fall enrollment is it's looking good. The trend is looking good. We will continue to implement new strategies that would optimize our enrollment in the fall. As of right now, we have I hate to give you these application things because that's not really real. We had 32,000 applications. It's just applications, and 13,000 students have been admitted. 10,000 students aren't coming. What I think is important is to let you know how many students have actually paid their enrollment deposit and housing deposit. And if my number serves me, if the number that I was given this morning is around 1,000 plus first-time freshman students have already paid that, either the enrollment deposit or the housing deposit. And those are the indications that we know that the students are coming. And we encourage them, yes. So to be precise, enrollment deposits of 1,026 students and housing deposit already of 472 first-time freshman students. And those numbers are good. And we hope that it will continue to hold steady. The challenges that we face when it comes to enrollment. We still have the out-of-state cap. And most of our effort is centered around in-state resident students. And of course, all of our 17 campuses are competing in the sandbox. So I'm encouraged, and I have challenged the provost and the enrollment team and everyone that is involved that we have to, what I think distinguishes us from others is our ability to touch the students. And we are doing retail, what I refer to as retail recruitment. We're using many of our alum to hold meetings for us. We are going to high schools and various counties, going to churches. Last year, I was at least a couple of them myself. And that's what it's going to take because the students have a lot of options these days, not just to HBCUs. And so we have to be present and we have to really touch all of the students who are interested in coming to us. The last slide deals with our fundraiser, and I'm happy to say to you that the comments that I made yesterday relative to our fundraising, I'm not going to repeat that this morning, but I'm very, very pleased to see the work that has occurred in our development office and the shift in the cultural paradigm. They talked to you about yesterday, that's what it would take for us to make that quantum leap when it comes to fundraising. And I think we're very close to that. And I gave Esther and her team some kudos yesterday. The goal for this year is $15 million. And we're now in the end of January, and they've already reached $12.1 million. So that tells us that they would exceed the $15 million again. That would be the second year that they've exceeded the goal. I mean, this is really a paradigm shift for us. And we need to acknowledge that. And thanks to all of our alumni, the corporate support, where we get all this money from. Money begets money. Giving begets giving. So we thank you. I want to also announce that the upcoming fundraising campaigns on April 2nd, our alumni director spoke about that yesterday, and what our current trajectory, our goal is. We encourage everyone to give, and we encourage everyone to encourage others to give. Now, this afternoon, or perhaps maybe even this morning, depending on what time we finish here, we are going to be proceeding to the New School of Business, where we're going to do the ribbon cutting where we open that building officially. I want to invite you to come. If you have not been in there yet, I'll say a little more about that when we get there. But we really are very pleased where we are with new infrastructure, new facilities on our campus that would enhance the teaching and the preparation of our students as they move into the workforce. So I'll say a little more about that when we get there. But if your schedule permits, we'd like to invite you to come and join us. It's not going to be a very lengthy program at all. I think we can do this perhaps maybe in less than 30 minutes. There will be a tour of the facility if you have the time. They will be conducting a tour, and I think you'll be very impressed with the state-of-the-art facility that we have now to support our School of Business. Mr. Chairman, without any further questions, that concludes my brief report to the board.
Any questions? On behalf of the board, thank you, Chancellor. We've seen tremendous progress here at the university. You certainly share the greatest responsibility in making sure that took place, and we thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Next, we'll be going into closed session, so let's take a 10-minute break. That means we'll be back at 11 promptly so that we can get started. We have a lot of information to cover. Board, also take the opportunity, you have some documents that we're going to be having a discussion on. Be sure to read through this because I would expect your opinion from all the board members because it's going to be a fruitful discussion. I'm not leaving it like that. Yeah. Yeah, thank you.
Christmas recess. Amazon that she gonna talk. Or I can just go. Remember that. That's all. Oh, no, just go over there and cut it off. Test, test, test. Check, check. Check, check. Check, check. Check.